Welcome to the Wise and Happy Life podcast, where ancient wisdom meets modern science, and mindfulness, philosophy, and happiness practices blend with neuroscience, compassion, and common sense. Hosted by Bob Martin, meditation mentor, happiness coach, trial lawyer, and entrepreneur. This podcast explores how to live with grace, presence, and purpose in a complex world.
Hello, good people, and welcome to another episode of a Wise and Happy Life podcast. And as I always like to do, start off with a little story that sets the theme for our guest today. And I want to mention that a few years back, after not exercising for some way too long a time, I started going to a gym, and what really kept me going was I had a gym buddy, actually two gym buddies, and we met and at 6 a.m, which is extraordinary, but you get extraordinary results when you do extraordinary things. And I started working with them, and fortunately, they knew a lot about the gym and how to do stuff. And I just followed along, and they were pushing 80 and I was pushing 20, and that's fine. And eventually I got myself a t-shirt that had a big 75 on it. It had 3/4 of a century. I said, still showing up. And anyway, one day they one of them called the other over, and they started pointing at my arm. And I go, what? They go, oh, we can see the triangle now. I said, what triangle? Because I was doing triceps. I was doing the push, and when you get that definition, I lost some weight too, and you can't really see the muscle definition if it's covered up by a lot of body stuffing. But anyway, they saw the triangle underneath the muscle and everything else, and they were pointing to it, and they were laughing. You finally got it. And I just felt like I was that old dog in the cartoon that gets the bone and hearts come out all over. And I still remember that, and it was such an affirming thing. And so I tell that story because strength training is important on many levels. But one of the reasons that I think it's important is that the stronger you feel about your body, the more you feel about so many different parts of your life. And that is what Allison Davis is all about. She has a wonderful book called 60 is a Great Place to Start, and she'll explain to you why she has that name. But she's into strength training, but not just the body, the mind, and doing some good work as well, because it's all part of strength and being strong. So, Allison, that's my introduction. Say hi to
Thank
the
you.
folks, and if you'd like to tell us a little bit about how you got involved in this and how you came to write the book. And then
Okay.
I'd like to talk with you a little bit about your system in your book, because I've looked at it and I'm really impressed with it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's great to be here. Well, so it's called 60 is a Good Start, and 60 is spelled out if you're looking for it in all your book places to buy books. But I turned 60. This was about 4 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of freaked out, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm 10 years from 70, 20 years from 80, Well, also I remembered that when I turned 50 and when I turned 40 and when I turned 60, that whole year leading up to those decade birthdays, I was really introspective, and I was just kind of asking those questions like, what am I doing with my life? Am I where I should be? Blah, blah, blah. Just those questions that we ask. And at 40, I was pregnant with my second child. At 50, I was adopting our fifth. And so I thought, well, I think I am where I'm supposed to be,
Well, well,
so,
well, 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 I'm not going to let that go by without
okay.
stopping you. What did you say? Adopting our fifth?
Yes.
Let me just take a little segue and tell us about
Sure.
that.
Okay. Well, my career was as a TV producer. All right. So I was in San Antonio, Texas, and LA. And then I met my husband, and we decided to move back to our home state of Oklahoma. I was 35. So we got married, and And then we had our first I was 37. So I was later than a lot, in when we had kids and when I had kids. And then I had one at 40 and one at 42. And then we adopted our fourth child from Russia when I was 46. And then when I was 50, we adopted our fifth child from Ethiopia. So, yeah, we
Wow.
have 5 kids. And I kept saying, I think this is keeping me young. But
Well, not only is it keeping you young, but one of the things that you talk about in your book is doing what you call world work,
yes.
taking care of things that are greater than yourselves. And you
Mm.
certainly are a living example of that. And
Well, thank you.
how gracious and how kind.
Thank
So
you.
sorry to interrupt. Go
No,
on with
that's
your
fine.
story.
So anyway, so then I turned 60 and introspective, just, but it was different because now, I'd been raising these kids for the last couple decades. I'd been homeschooling them for 20 years. I stopped at a certain point because I was like, oh, okay, I've done enough of that. But, um, and so I knew things were shifting. Our older three were out of the house. Our younger two were very independent, older, like my job was really totally different now. What is my job? So I'd been teaching women kind of on the side about natural health because that had been a journey of mine for like 30 years. And so during my 50s, I was doing a lot of that, just like online or in person. But I realized I needed something different. It was that purpose thing, which is a big longevity factor. Are we living in our purpose? And I was needing something that was going to make me wake up in the morning and be excited for the day, like I could sink my teeth into. And I'm talking something that was going to take me 5 or 10 years down the road, not just like this year, but just, something bigger. So I thought, I think I'm going to have to say yes to some things like, I don't know what, but some things that are going to maybe not be the thing, but maybe lead me to the thing. Right. Just signs along the way, do a conference, join a group, whatever it might be. So I did. I joined a group on Facebook that was, it was this guy sold a big calendar, and his whole thing was he wanted you to have a misogi for the year, and that's a Japanese word for a life-changing event. So every year he wants you to have a misogi. What's it going to be? And it could be anything. It could be climb a mountain. It could be write a book. It could be repair a relationship, lose some weight, start working out, just whatever, it's going to be. But you'll remember it. You'll be like, oh, back in 2021, this was my misogi. In 2022, this is what I did, right? So you're making memories. You're doing, things you're going to remember and be glad you did at the end of your life.
Hmm.
And so I was in that group. I didn't know anybody in it. They were male, female, all ages. I was just reading the stuff that people were putting in there, and the great thing about it was they were just really living their lives, right? That was what this guy was all about. And so that was fun. And this, for several months, I'm thinking, what's my misogi going to be? Well, I don't know, what's it going to be? Nothing was really hitting me. And finally, one day, this girl pops up in there. I didn't know her. And she said, hey, tomorrow I'm going to start this challenge called 75 Hard. Does anyone want to do it with me? And I had heard of that 4 months prior, and I'd listened to the guy's podcast who started it. And he's this big, muscular, tattooed guy. And I thought, I'm not your target market. It's a really hard 75-day challenge of physical, mental toughness, but a lot of physical, lots of working out, diet, all this stuff. But then when she said that, I thought, I'm going to go listen to that podcast again, listen to it again. And I thought, I think I can arrange my life to do this for 75 days. And, it'll be my misogi. And I just turned 60 and I need to do something. So I did it. And the only thing that changed right there was my mindset. Nothing else had changed in my life except that I was looking at these people, listening to these people talk about how they were just really living life, right? So that was cool. And I love that because it kind of goes to that phrase I love, that we are the 5 people we hang out with. And that could be, podcasts we listen to. It could be things we watch, what's going in our eyes and ears, people we're around. Are they building us up? Are they tearing us down? Right? We're just, it's important to be in positive environments. So I did that. And then I did another little online women's kind of asking big questions about your life mastermind thing. It was a few weeks. And then it was July 4th, as a matter of fact, of that year, 2021. And I was doing a little breathing meditation I like to do. And all of a sudden I thought, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to write a book. My brain was like, what are you talking about? No, you're not. It's all been said before. You're not a very good writer anyway. We all have that battle with the brain. And so I did. I wrote the book. It took 3 years. Yeah, I know it took a while. Well, I wrote it the first year and then spent some time editing. Then I hooked up with a publisher that I really liked, and we rewrote it. I rewrote it with, and editor's help and all that. And so, yeah, it was a 3-year process, but it was fun. I loved it. I loved the writing process. So, I found my thing, because it wasn't just the writing, and which was really fun to me. I'm a introvert to a certain degree. And so I just loved, I was like setting aside my time every day. I'm going to spend this much time writing. But then it's the promoting, which is, kind of what we're doing now. And I was like, oh, I don't know if that's going to be as fun. But I have to tell you, it's been great because I meet really cool people like you. So, and then
But
we've
it's
got the online
and it's
program.
also
That'll be,
but it's also, I mean, you're also doing research and you're thinking deeper
yeah,
and you're strategizing, not strategizing about this and that, but where is this going to go as opposed to that was going to go,
yes,
and how do
organizing.
I keep the tension up and the
Mm-hmm.
beats and the pacing and
Uh-huh.
all of those things. It's really quite a
It's a process.
process and a challenge on both the strategic long range and short range,
Yeah.
like what's the next word I'm going to use,
Uh-huh.
and then where am I going to break the chapter. So
Right, right.
it's a tip of the hat, to taking that off. And
Yeah,
uh,
it
when
was
i
really
wrote my when I wrote my first book, I remember somebody said to me, first of all, no matter what happens with the book, you can pat yourself on the back because there's not a whole lot of people that get that done.
yeah,
So
there's truth.
take it. So just the fact that you wrote it, it's a
Thank you.
big thing. But
Yes.
but it's also a great book.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hmm.
Really appreciate that. It was such a learning experience. I had various, my editor was so great, that my publisher was so great. She was all about the strategizing of, what do you want to do with this? When I hooked up with her, I'd already written it. And she said, most people that come to me when they've already written their book have written the wrong book. And so I was like, okay, really? But, and it really wasn't. It was just, we totally reorganized it because she said, most people write a book from their past, but I want you to write a book for your future. Well, yeah, it had a lot of my past stuff in there as examples of this, that, and the other, but what are we doing with that book? Like,
Hmm.
so it was this whole different kind of strategizing on, what's it going to lead to?
Hmm.
How's it going to help people?
Well, it's led to a lot because you had the book and you were doing classes out of the book, but now you have an app and you're going virtual, right? You're
Yeah,
going
yeah.
digital.
So yeah, we just finished. Well, we're about to finish our beta test. There's about 50 people in that group right now, and the book leads to what I call the 60-day dare, which we'll talk about that in a minute. But
Oh yeah,
so
that's the name of the book.
well, 60 is a good
So
start is the name of the book, but it leads to the 60-day dare, which is there's a
uh-huh,
planner. So here's the book. That's what it looks like. But then there's a planner that goes with the book for the 60-day dare because we all need
uh-huh.
a planner.
And you started doing it when you were 60 years old. And
Yes.
so it's got this kind of cute little double
Yes.
meaning, huh?
Right. 60 is a good start, which kind of can mean midlife, but Sometimes that may be 50. For me, it was 60. We're all different, but 60 is a good start. It's never too late. But also 60 is a good start means 60 days is a good start. And we know that because neuroscientists have looked in the microscope and seen habit formation on the nerve cells in the brain. Literally forms into little umbrellas and so it's at least 60 days, could be up to 8 months. That's why 60 is a good start, 60 days. So we're doing these 60-day dares where you're going to create what you're going to do for longevity habits. Natural health and longevity kind of mixed together, habits that are going to lead you to living a good life, basically. And there are parameters that you're going to work within, but you're going to kind of design it yourself too. So we can talk about what I did on this beta test. That might give an example.
Yeah, let's.
Okay.
Let's. So what did you do?
Okay, so there's the framework is a circle, and it's called the self-perpetuating circle of purpose, because like you said, we need to feel good if we're going to do good things, right? Have a good mental, emotional, spiritual state of mind, and then do what our purpose is in the world and our relationships. So there are 3 pillars called body work, brain work, and world work. Under each are the big 5. So body work is the physical, brain work is the mental, emotional, spiritual, and world work is purpose and relationships. And so I want you to choose at least one thing from each category to do for 60 days. So under body work, the big 5 are eat, drink, move, sleep, breathe. So eat, you're going to do something with your diet. Well, for me, I decided that these 60 days, I am eating 30 grams of protein before I eat anything else during the day. That was always kind of hard for me, and I just didn't always do it. But it has been fantastic. I can't tell you how great it's been. It really sets the tone for my day of focusing on protein for the rest of the day. It's important. We need it. We need it because we need our muscles. And our muscles, there's some various, doctors out there that talk about our muscles are the organ of longevity. We need strong muscles for mobility, for all of that. So, and we need protein to have strong muscles.
Yeah. No,
So,
I just let me say I did
yeah,
a podcast with a lady who was actually in her 80s
yeah.
and had just broken her femur.
Mm,
Now, she had been working out and she had been going to the gym regularly and she was doing her squats and her muscles and she was building up. Well, most folks, when they hear somebody in their 80s breaks a femur or cracks a hip, they say, well, that's it for them.
right.
They're never getting out of a wheelchair. She was on a walker in 4 weeks and she was
Fantastic.
doing house week around the house in
Yeah.
6 weeks. And now she's out
That's,
as if it never happened.
yeah.
80 years old, broken femur. And she completely credits it to the muscles being able to be there to give her the support to allow her bone to heal and the healing activity, being supported by the protein and the like. So
Yeah.
I mean, I just talked to somebody who is absolute proof of what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe it. I have to tell you, I actually broke my femur or my fibula like a week before we were starting the 60-day dare. And it was a small break. I mean, it was a break. And they were like, well, if you're going to have a break, this is the one to have. That's only 10% of your weight is on that bone. So, and I'm all good now. It healed pretty fast. I was doing all kinds of extra things to make it help the healing along. Things like natural health kind of things, red light therapy, some homeopathic stuff. But yeah, that's super cool. I'm glad to hear that
Mhm.
story. Yeah. So, drink would be making sure you're getting at least half your body weight in ounces of water a day, if not more. There's some statistic about I know it's over 50% of ER visits are solved with hydration. People don't drink enough water. And
Mhm.
I like to imagine our organs being wet and supple and veins and arteries. We're 70% water. So, just imagining, okay, those things need that. Let's drink the water. So, but you have to focus on it. You have to You have to have your water bottle with you all the
Yeah.
time or whatever it's going to take, right? Right. There you go. Move would be, your exercise, which at this point in life, walking, I think it's a combination of walking and strength training are just really, if we focus on that, we're good. Sleeping, making sure you're getting 7 to 9 hours a night, and then breathing, deep breathing. That's a huge thing too, believe it or not. And then in brain work, we have write, read, clear, meditate,
Well,
create.
let
Go
me
back.
just hold on there.
Yep.
Now you say that this person who's going to take this challenge because they're designing their own program.
Yes.
So out of those five general
Mhm.
categories, they're going to pick something. So let's say they pick walking or strength training.
Yeah.
Um, do they get a little bit more detailed and say,
Oh,
"Well, I'm
yeah.
picking strength
Oh,
training,
yeah. The
and
book goes
I'm
in.
going to commit to 3 days a week."
Well, no, what you're
This
gonna
that.
do in body work and brain work is you're gonna commit
Hmm.
60 days in a row. So,
Oh.
the book gives lots of detail on this, but if you choose moving your body, then what my recommendation is 45 minutes of something a day. Now, if you've been sedentary and that just sounds not doable and you're like, maybe I can do 10 minutes, that's where you start because you're designing
Hmm.
this for you and you want to be successful. You don't want to set yourself up for failure. You want to be able to do it, but we're going to baby step our way there. I mean, if I've
Hmm.
said baby step once in the last 10 years, I've said it thousands of times. Because that's how we're successful, just little
Hmm.
by little by little. And but that what that might be is maybe it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're going to do some strength training. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, you're going to walk. Or maybe you're going to do a stretching, one of those days or 2 days for whatever the length of time you decide is, but you're going to do something every day for 60 days. And that,
Gotcha.
that can be hard. I mean, because it's
Hmm.
just like, oh, it's Sunday. I don't, but I think with intention and purpose and, you're what you're trying to do. Our future, I love this line. Our future is hidden in our daily routine.
Hmm.
It just is.
I love
I
that.
feel like what we're doing here is solving the problem of inconsistency. You know, well, how do we do that? And that my background in TV producing and plus homeschooling, I had to be planning all the time, organizing all the time, very intentional with the day, with the hours of the day and the days of the week. And so I feel like that, and that's what we're doing here is trying to help people become very intentional. It's not that hard. It just takes a little bit of shifting, and you may have to maybe not do
Eh,
some things you're doing in your life to make this happen. It's just
and a little bit of accountability, because I heard
yeah.
you mentioned that you build some accountability into it.
For
Yes.
sure, for sure. I mean, either, friends can get together and do it together. If you don't want friends, they're going to flake out on you. But, if you've got those good friends that, want to do it with you, and you maybe talk once a week about it or something like that, or you can do it with our app. So in our community where we have a post every day, people can talk on there. We have weekly accountability Zoom calls. Just we're just checking in. How's it going? What's hard? Oh, here's some ideas that might make it easier. And so it's just doing it together because I do think most people need accountability. There's a few
Hmm.
people out there that
Absolutely.
don't, but
Yeah.
most people do.
So that's body.
Yeah.
Now mind work,
Yeah, brain work, we call it,
brain work.
and yes,
Okay.
similar. So write, read, clear, meditate, create. All right, write is journaling. That is maybe you're a person who just your mind is just cluttered all the time, and you just need to get what's in here down on paper. Just that, doing that is such an amazing thing and can make a person feel so much better. Maybe you have some trauma that you need to deal with still. And so starting there, of course, therapy and those things would be great too. if you feel like you need it, but just journaling. Nobody has to see it. You throw it away, whatever. But just again, there's a deal with the brain with, handwriting stuff on paper and just kind of getting it out. So, if that's something that would be good for you or not. It doesn't have to take long. It can take 5 minutes. Wake up in the morning, 10 minutes, whatever, and just do that. The second one is read. So that's nonfiction, uplifting, self-improvement, personal development, could be business development, skills, something that's bettering you, uplifting you, but you're going to read like 10 pages a day. And then clear is two possibilities. One is decluttering, like a 15-minute decluttering session. That's the one I chose this time around. It's been fantastic. I've 5 kids. We've been in this house 20 years. I mean, you can imagine there's a lot to deal with. So that and that I just tolerate, like this top drawer, my desk right here. I tolerated the drawer being a disaster for 2 years. And then I cleaned it out during one of my 15-minute sessions, and now it's wonderful. But that can mess with the mind. That just clutters the mind, right? Mm-hmm. Or detoxing your house. So that's going to the natural health. Get those chemicals out of your house. What goes on our skin goes into our bloodstream, and it's not going to do us any good in terms of our health. So usually that's what's in the laundry room, the bathroom, under the kitchen sink. Skincare, shampoo, makeup, deodorant, toothpaste, laundry soap, just all the things. When you start going, oh, wow, that's probably not good for me. I remember when I went through all that, so 60 days of sorting that out. Going into those rooms, looking at figuring out what are the ingredients on this, finding something to replace it that's good and plant-based and doesn't have chemicals in it that are going to go into your body, So that's a process to do that little by little. The fourth one's meditate. That would be meditation, prayer, affirmations, like a 10-minute session every day. And the fifth one is create. So that's like art making. Like a 30-minute art making. For me, I loved a needlepoint. It's something I've been doing for about just 4 years now. I love it. It's like my reward at the end of the day. There's studies that say it like 45 minutes will reduce cortisol levels, that stress hormone that we can get. And I give a ton of examples of options that you can do or try, or maybe your 60 days is you're just going to devote 30 minutes to figuring out what you want to do. Try some different things, investigate some different things.
So when you pick one of these, are you going to stick with that one
for 60
the
days?
60 days? You're not going to jump back and forth
No.
creativity and writing and reading, and
No.
that seems like a way to it does. It feels like it wouldn't be right, because it's like, now I don't want to do that, so I'm going to do this. And the idea is not to give in to that.
Yes.
I don't feel like doing that today, but just.
Let me tell you, when I did 75 Hard, one of the things that we had to do was read 10 pages of a book a day. And, preferably a book with pages versus like an audio or a Kindle book. And you had to finish the book, which I would prefer that the person does, and then have the next book waiting. And that's one of the best things I've ever done. Was I get lots of books, and I will look at this part, that part, maybe not read the whole thing. I just they're all nonfiction that I'm talking about, but so it is fantastic to just slow down a second and read a whole book. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So we know we'll gravitate toward one of those that feels like, I need that. Yeah, I need that. And then now world work, purpose and relationships, you do get to rotate through these each week. So now, but for so these are called dream, engage, gather, help, and act. Dream is for that purpose, that person that doesn't know what their purpose is right now. They feel like I felt restless. That was my key word when I hit 60. I was like, I'm restless. I need something different. And I didn't know what it was. Well, these are 60 questions that you're going to journal the answer to for 60 days. So that one you would, if you chose that one, you would do the every day for 60 days. And I believe those questions are really going to lead you to what you might want to be doing right now with your life. At an amazing time where, pretty much we have more time to think. Our kids are grown or almost. We may be empty nesters. We may be, after a long career that, I've just been able to slow down, even if I'm still in it, or retired, whatever it is. We have some more time, and we have all this wisdom of a life lived, so that's so beautiful about this time of life. So anyway, that would be for that person. And the second one is called engage. So that is for, there's a lot of loneliness at this point in life, maybe widow or divorced, or again, the kids are gone. Add to that, maybe the person is an introvert. So, and lately I've been seeing a lot of longevity studies that are saying that relationships are maybe the number one factor in looking at longevity. And when I say longevity, I mean health span, they call it. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to live long, you want to be healthy, right?
Right.
You want to feel good the whole time. So that might be that you call somebody to go have coffee, that you call your brother that lives across the country and you haven't talked to him in a year. You make a date to do that. You make put it in your calendar that you're going to do that, and just some way of connecting with another person. And that can be hard for some people. So, if you need it. And then gather is the third one. That is the spiritual component. So all of these longevity studies, one thing they had in common was that these people were part of a spiritual community. So, and they met with those people, once a month at least, if not once a week. So that could be church, that could be a small group that, for the purpose of those kind of discussions. It could be a one-on-one, but it's connecting with one or many for that purpose. Number 4 is help. So that'd be volunteering. Lots of people find a new purpose in the volunteer world. I just always want to caution people to make sure it's what you want to do. Because I really believe, I think God put the desires of our heart in us. And so we got to listen to that. And, we're supposed to use that and pursue that thing that we want to do. A lot of people will kind of feel guilty about, oh, I don't want to say no, they want me to do blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know what? If you find the right thing that you're supposed to do, I promise you somebody's going to pop up and do that thing that needs to be done, but is not meant for you. I just see it all the time. So, and then the last one's act. So if you do know what you're doing, what you want to do, you're going to spend like an hour a day on it. But those, again, you can rotate through. So maybe you're going to do act for 4 days a week, and you're going to do gather for one day and engage for one day, or whatever you feel like is best for your life.
As you're mentioning this, what I am really picking up on is that although they are presented as 3 spheres or 3 pillars, they're really all connected.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the stronger you feel in your body, the stronger and clearer your mind is.
Absolutely.
The stronger, one of the things that we teach and we find and discover in meditation, that when we cultivate a sensation like opening our heart or compassion, the natural tendency is wanting to ease another's suffering. And you don't have to try to cultivate that, because it comes naturally when the strength is there, when the clarity is there, when the compassion is there. Then it's just a natural thing that we want to go and ease somebody else's suffering. And so I really appreciate the work that this took. It's no small feat just to write a book, but to put as much thought and as much love into a project like this, I mean, it's nice to make, let's face it, it's nice to make a buck, and it's nice if you can sell a book, but ultimately, it's not why we do it.
Not
It's
at
why we
all.
do it.
Nobody's getting rich by writing a book.
Nope, nobody's getting rich.
Yeah.
What it is it's a chance to make a difference. And as you know, Mother Teresa says, we might not be able to fix the whole world, but we can do something about our little corner of it.
Right. Exactly.
And you are certainly doing something about your little corner of it. So, Allison, thank you so much
Thank you.
for coming on the show. And for anybody that wants to get the book, it'll be in our show notes. But the important thing to remember is that 60 is spelled out SIXTY,
True.
not 60.
That's
So
true.
don't be looking for a number, look for the word. Okay, when you go to the bookstore. Allison, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
all you've done and for your time today
Oh,
coming
you
on the
bet.
show.
You bet. It's an honor.
Okay, take care and be happy.